name is Stephanie Green, and I will be subbing for Molly this evening. I'm also looking forward to being ordained officially as cantor from HEC in less than 2 months, and so I am so honored to be joining all of you this evening. We'll begin with a nigun. A nigun is a wordless melody. So yididai, lai, 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 whichever syllable you enjoy. Once you've got it, I'd like to invite you to join in. Yididai, dai, 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 yididai, dai, 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 yai, dai, yai, dai, 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 yididai, dai, 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 yididai, dai, 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 yai, dai, yai, dai, 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 yididai, dai, 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 yididai, dai, 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 yai, dai, yai, dai, 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 yididai, dai, 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 yididai, dai, 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 yai, dai, 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 dai. Part 2. Yididai, dai, 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 yididai, dai, 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 yai, dai, yai, dai, 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 yididai, dai, yai, dai, yididai, dai, 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 yai, dai, yai, dai, 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 yididai, dai, 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 yididai, dai, 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 yai, dai, yai, dai, 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 yididai, dai, 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 yididai, dai, 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 yai, dai, yai, dai, 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 yididai, dai, 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 yididai, dai, 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 yai, dai, yai, dai, 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 yididai, dai, 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 yididai, dai, 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 yai, dai, yai, dai, 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 yididai, dai, 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 yididai, dai, 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 yai, dai, yai, dai, 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 yididai, dai, 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 yididai, dai, 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 yai, dai, yai, dai, 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 dai. We will continue with our candle blessing, which can be found on page 2.
So while Stephanie's getting ready to do that, let me just say that she and I have our masks off. We're going to stay away from each other. According to the latest Bright Outside Today CDC, what are they called? Guidelines. That's okay to do, but we're going to still have you do it. Keep your mask on because I don't know that the security committee has made their mandate yet. So that's what we're going to do tonight. Shabbat Shalom. We continue on page 24, Shalom Alechem, and we welcome in the Shabbat angels, or the messengers of peace.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharet, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech Malachei HaMlachim, with Kabbalat Shabbat. As we bring in the light of Shabbat together, Lechu Neranana Ladonai on page 12. Lechu Neranana Ladonai Naria Itzur Ishenu Yailai 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 Adonai Shir Chadash. Let us sing a new song. On page 15 into page 16 with a new melody for Zamru that we sing and we play instruments, the guitar, the piano, the instruments of our souls, the ruach that Shabbat lights up in us. So I'd like to invite you to join me again once you've got it.
Page 20, L'Chadodi, we welcome in the Shabbat presence. Sing together, paragraphs 1, 2, 5, and when we get to 9, we'll rise, we'll turn to greet the Shabbat presence through the door.
L'Chadodi, l'Ikrakala, Pene Shabbat, l'Kabela. L'Chadodi, l'Ikrakala, Pene Shabbat, l'Kabela. Shalom v'zachor, b'dibur echad, ishmi'anu el hamiyuchad, Adonai echad, u'shemo echad, Shemo l'tiferet v'lithilah. Echadodi l'ikrakala, Penei Shabbat nikabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki mekor haberacha merosh mikedem meisucha sof ma'aseh machshava tefila. Echadodi ikrakala, Penei Shabbat nikabela. Hitoreri, ki va'orech, kumi ori, uri, shidaviri, Vod Adonai, alayich nigla. L'Chadodi, l'Ikrakala, Penei Shabbat nikabela.
Rise as you're able.
Boi v'shalom, ateret bala, gam b'simcha, u'v'tzahalotoch emunei, av segula. Boi L'Chadodi, l'Ikrakala, Penei Shabbat nikabela. L'Chadodi, l'Ikrakala, Penei Shabbat nikabela.
Please take this opportunity to wish one another Shabbat Shalom. You may be seated, and we continue with the Psalm for Shabbat, Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbat, on page 22.
Mizmor Shir, Mizmor Shir, Shir L'Yom HaShabbat. Mizmor Shir, Mizmor Shir, Shir L'Yom HaShabbat. Tov lehodot l'Adonai, ולזמר לשמך עליון, להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונת
going to turn ahead to page 145, service 2, and begin that section with Chatzi Kaddish and make a transition between Kabbalat Shabbat and the rest of the evening service. I'm having trouble with my words.
יתגדל ויתקדש מרבה, בעלמא דברי חריתי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון, ובחיי לכל בית ישראל. בגלה, בגלה, ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, ויעלה מולל מעלמיה, יתברך, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתהלל ויתהלל, שמי לקודש בריחו, אלא מכל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, תאמירה מעלמא, ואמרו אמן.
Please rise and bow to your spirit as you're able for Baruch. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chochma poteach sha'arim, u'bitbuna mishana itim, u'machalif et hazmanim, u'misader et hakochavim, b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono, borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or, u'ma'avir yom u'mevi layla, Umavdil ben yom uven laila, Adonai tzvaot shemo. Echai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim.
אהבת עולם בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו, בשוכבנו וקומנו, נשיח בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך, ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגע יומם ולילה. ואהבתך תשים ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד.
You may be seated.
והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווה ניצבך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות בידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים אלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
We worship the power that unites the universe, a promise of harmony for all. Yet that oneness eludes our grasp, as imperfection and evil abound. Before our eyes there is a vision of perfection, order, and goodness. There is evil enough to break the heart, and there is good enough to exalt the soul. When will redemption come?
When we grant everyone what we claim for ourselves.
Long ago we escaped the tyranny of Egypt. Our people saw the power of the Most High. We learned God's presence redeems time and event. So we celebrate this power that makes for freedom. With the Micha Mocha on page 152. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom. Ufros aleinu sukkot shlomecha. In the Hashkivenu, we ask God to spread over us a sukkot shalom, a shelter of peace. We ask God to spread that shelter of peace over us, over all of us, over those in our community who are in need of healing of body or spirit. We especially think tonight of the people in Ukraine and other places in the world who are frightened, alone, we're going to sing Hashkivenu and Ana Elna Rafanallah, the prayer for healing, together to kind of understand that all of us are in need of some kind of healing. All of us are in need of some kind of comfort. And before I read the list, I just want to take a moment, personal privilege, to just say a name that's not going to be on the list tonight, and that's for a good reason. Some of you know that my brother was diagnosed with stage 4 melanoma metastasized to his brain. And for about a month, that's what we understood to be our reality, 60 years old. And just this week, we learned that, in fact, they reduced that stage 4 to stage 1, and they think they got all of it in the surgery that he had about 6 weeks ago. And so he's off the list. So I appreciate, thank you. I appreciate so much all your support through this last 6 weeks. Have just been terrible, just terrible, and it's a huge relief, and I'm really grateful to all of you. So his name isn't on the list, but there are many names on the list, and even as we read all these names, we realize that there's so many others whose names we don't know who are in need of healing this evening, and we think of them. So this evening we'll hold in our hearts Ira Altshuler, Ann Barber, Howard Bregman, Kathleen Bond, Daniel Chen, Fern Diamond, Phyllis Didion, Ann Fay, Judy Forrest, Ken Franklin, Piers Haggard, David Mordechai HaKohen, Naum Kaplan, Sylvia Kasparowski, Lee Kramer, Albert Lepre, Susan Lother, Hinda Sarah Bat-Chana Pearl, Brian Martino, Nancy McGahan, Jonathan Miller, Edward Mims, Joanne Newman, Till Oster, Lev Podorovsky, Naftali Ben-Riva, Mike Rosen, Rabbi Bert Schumann, Lanny Seed, Adam Schusterman, John Spear, Michael Spate, Jan Stoller, Jackie Student, Carolyn Turner, Hazan Sheva Yehuda Ben Batya, Martin Zimmerman, Zev Leib Ben Harav Baruch Shraga Vasima Hinda. Are there names for Misha Barak tonight?
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai
Yishaberach Avotenu v'Imotenu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah Yivarach et Hacholim. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal all those who are ill. We continue now back on page 154, if maybe you haven't left that page, and with V'shamru, and remind ourselves of our covenant with God to keep Shabbat. It's this was from last week's portion, but in this week's portion, we also learn about this covenant. We read again about the covenant of keeping Shabbat. It's actually been described as as an example or as evidence of God's treating human beings with dignity. Right, the day of rest. When you're a slave, you don't have a chance to rest, but on Shabbat, if you're a free person, then you have an opportunity to rest. So we have that, we're allowed that dignity, and then it's our responsibility to give those with whom we work that rest as well.
V'shamiru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat. Torotam berit olam, v'shameru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat, la'asod et HaShabbat, torotam berit olam, beini u'b'nei Yisrael, beini u'b'nei
Page 155, we begin the Tafillah. Please rise as you're able in body or spirit. Adonai, L'chaye hakol atarav lo shia, Mashiv haruach umorid hagasham. Mechalkei chaim bechesed, Mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, Somech novli berofech olim, Umatir asurim, Umkayem emunato, Lishnei alfa, Micha mocha bal gevurot, Umito melech memit umachaye, Umatzliach Yeshua, V'ne'man atah hayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye hametim. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. You may be seated. On page 160, read together in the middle of the page. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may we all live in such a way that this day fulfills its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Be gracious, Adonai, our God, to your people, Israel, and receive our prayers with love. Oh, may our worship always be acceptable to you. Fill us with the knowledge you are near to all who seek you in truth. Let our eyes behold your presence in our midst and in the midst of our people in Zion. Blessed is Adonai, whose presence renews Zion. And on page 163, for the good in us, which calls us to a better life, we give thanks. For the strength to improve the world with our hearts and our hands, we offer praise. For the desire in us which leads us to work for peace, we are grateful. For life and nature, harmony and beauty, for the hope of tomorrow, all praise to the source of being. For all these things, O Sovereign, let your name be forever praised and blessed. O God, our Redeemer and Helper, let all who live affirm you and praise your name in truth. Blessed are you, Adonai, your name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha uchana'eh lahodot. On page 164, Shalom Rav, big, abundant peace. We ask this peace to be spread over the whole world, to the hearts and the minds of the leaders and the peoples of all who live on earth, that we might know peace. Shalom Rav, we follow Shalom Rav with our own silent prayers.
Shalom Rav, al Yisrael amcha, tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav, al Yisrael amcha, tasim le'olam. Ki ata hu melech adon, b'chol hashalom.
So this is the second last week that our Torah readings will be in the book of Exodus. In other words, we have this week and next week, and then we transition to the book of Leviticus. So it's interesting to think about where we are now versus where we started. At the beginning of Exodus, God's people are enslaved to a false god. By the book's end, they have been liberated to serve the one God. Exodus begins with the Israelites forced to build cities for a human king who views them as a potential threat to his rule and treats them accordingly, much cruelty, and to his own end. And Exodus ends with the people engaged in building a mishkan, this portable tabernacle, in which the God who has redeemed them can dwell. So we're in this building project. So at the beginning, we were building cities for Pharaoh, and at the end, we're still building, but now we're building a mishkan so God's presence can dwell among us. A biblical scholar named Ellen Davis observes that the people move from, quote, perverted work designed by Pharaoh to destroy God's people to divinely mandated work designed to bring together God and God's people in the closest proximity possible in this life. It's a really beautiful thought. Divinely mandated work designed to bring together God and God's people in the closest proximity possible in this life. So by the end of Exodus, the work our ancestors were doing was transformed from perverse to holy. The word used for the work the Israelites did in Egypt is called avodah in Hebrew. Avodah comes from the same root as eved, and it's the same word as slave. But in building the Mishkan, the word for work is malacha, which has the same root as angel or messenger. The word malacha is also used to describe God's work in creation, indicating that the work of building the Mishkan has the same holiness attached to it as God's creation of the universe. In the space of one book of Torah, the Israelites move from one building project to another, and in the process are transformed from slaves of an arrogant leader to servants of a just and compassionate God. Since that time, we have been called upon to build, but not only to build buildings, but to build communities and to build minds and hearts where compassion and justice will thrive. So I think it's really interesting to think about the big transition that we had over the book of Exodus, especially this biblical transformation. It's interesting to look at the way Jews have transformed in the space of way less time with respect to our relationship with Ukraine. This week, some of you may have seen what Danny Schiff wrote, but if not, I'll share with you. He said, as Russia launches a reprehensible war of aggression against the sovereign Ukrainian nation, Jews stand with the people of Ukraine. Nobody should underestimate how extraordinary that statement is, he says. There are, after all, few lands more saturated with Jewish blood than Ukraine. Rabbi Schiff reminds us of the hundreds of thousands of Jews killed on Ukrainian land by Ukrainians by Nazis, and then later by the persecution of Jews by the Soviet Union after the war. He then lists the changes that Ukraine has made in recent years, changes which, and this is to quote Rabbi Schiff, the Jewish victims of centuries past would surely have been incredulous to learn. And most of these are very recent. So he lists them. The president of Ukraine, and Volodymyr Zelensky is Jewish. I believe also the prime minister is Jewish. The Jewish state, Israel, has condemned the attack on Ukraine and has expressed that it stands ready and prepared to offer humanitarian assistance to Ukrainian citizens who only a generation ago were killing Jews, murdering Jews. And perhaps most surprising of all, last week, when they surely had other things on their minds, Ukraine's parliament passed a law criminalizing anti-Semitism. The law stipulates that anti-Semitic acts committed by individuals are punishable by a fine or a prison sentence of up to 5 years. Rabbi Schiff concludes, for these reasons, and because we are unswervingly dedicated to justice, to democracy, and to the freedom that we have championed since we emerged from Egypt, today we stand with the people of Ukraine. Today we stand with the people of Ukraine, and we note that among them live tens of thousands of Jews. Ukraine is home to one of the largest Jewish communities in the world. In 2008, some of us from Rodef Shalom, in a mission led by Anne Malloy, who's on the executive board of the World Union for Progressive Judaism, with her territory being that part of the world, the former Soviet Union. In 2008, some of us from here met some of those Jews from Ukraine in Odessa and Kyiv. And when we met them, we felt like we were meeting long-lost cousins. The food was the same. The grandma clothes were the same. It was like we were meeting our family. On this Shabbat, members of those very Jewish communities in Kiev and Odessa, although Odessa's got other problems, are seeking refuge along with millions of other frightened Ukrainians, and we stand together with all of them against tyranny and war. There are opportunities to support the Jews of Ukraine, to support to support Ukrainians in general. Specifically, I would direct you to the Jewish Federation's Pittsburgh site to support the Jews of Ukraine, but also the World Union for Reformed Judaism and other places as well. In addition to places that are popping up that are there to collect money to support the victims in this latest escalation, in addition to those sites, there are also prayers for Ukraine popping up all over the internet. And I would like to share one in conclusion tonight. It was written more than 200 years ago. It was written by Rabbi Natan Sternhartz, who lived in Ukraine. So if you can imagine 200 years ago writing this prayer that is still relevant today. So these are his words. May it be your will, Adonai, our God and God of our ancestors, that war and bloodshed should vanish from the earth, and may we know a great and wondrous peace, so that nation will not lift up sword against nation, nor will they study war anymore. May all the inhabitants of the earth come to recognize and know the truth, that we were not brought into the world for the sake of war and discord, not for the sake of jealousy or hatred or bloodshed, but we were brought into the world that we might know you and your endless blessings. May the scriptural promise come to pass. I will grant peace to the world that you may settle there, and none will make you afraid. I will spare the land from vicious beasts, and the sword will never again pass through your territory. And let us say, Amen. We turn now to Aleinu, to remind ourselves of our obligations to stand up for justice and stand up for victims, our part in bringing about peace. Please rise as you are able for Aleinu, page 282. Kaddish is on page 294. Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and all those whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us. In Shloshim, within the last 30 days, Elliot Kramer, Irving Krasnopoler, Louis Levick, Francis Levin, Stephen D. Oliphant, Millie Rogo, Patrice Shore, Stanley Spear. We also remember those who died at this season in years past, whose yahrzeit we mark on this Shabbat. Gilda Abo, Robert Burstein, Dan Danovitz, Pauline Davis, Robert Dickman, Marcia K. Egger, Celia Hepner, Joan Miller Jacobs, Samuel Layton, Isabel Lovner, Jerome Mandel, Alfred Nahas, Lillian Auckland, Martin Ost, Paul Perrin, Ray Rosenblum, Bernard Roth, Dorothy Roth, Louis I. Schwartz, Dr. Bernard H. Shetman, Raoul B. Solomon, Leah Spiegel-Kurtz, Miriam W. Stearman, Enbalt Soor, James Warren, Edward Weisberg. Are there any other names for Kaddish tonight? Zichronam livracha, may all their memories be for blessing. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, v'alma tivrach
v'yamlich malchutei,
b'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei t'chol beit Yisrael, b'gala v'zman kariv imru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitzpa'ar v'yitromam v'naseh, Vitadar, Vitala, Vitalal, Shmei de Kudasha, Berchu, Leila, Minko, Birchata, Vashirata, Tushvachata, Venechamata, Damiran, Ve'alma, Vimru,
Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chaim Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Vimru, Amen.
Oseh Shalom Bimromav, Huya Oseh Shalom, Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Vimru, Amen. You may be seated.
Oseh Shalom Bimromav, Uyaseh Shalom, Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imiru,
What's our closing song?
Adon Olam.
Okay, Adon Olam, page 321. In just a moment, we'll be singing Adon Olam to conclude our service. I don't know why, like 9.5 times out of 10 it's Adon Olam, but it's always a big surprise. Like to thank Luke up there in the balcony. Turn around and say thank you to Luke for making us sound good and spreading us all over the internet. I believe we're on Zoom tonight as well. Thank you so very much to Erev Cantor.
2 months.
Stephanie Green, and to Don McGahan. Tomorrow morning, Matthew Kosis, who will be joining us in just a moment on the Bima to lead us in Kiddush and Motzi. Tomorrow morning is Matthew's bar mitzvah, so wish Mazel Tov in advance to you and to your family, to your parents, Eric and Lisa, and to Evan, and to all the people that we'll see tomorrow. In 2 weeks from tonight, on March 11th, is that possible? Dan Nichols will be with us, and then week after that, we'll be joining with Tree of Life and Dor Chadash for service at 7 p.m. To honor the 100th anniversary of the first bat mitzvah. So that was the daughter of Mordechai Kaplan, the founder of Reconstructing Judaism, although he didn't know it as that name. That was the anniversary. It was her bat mitzvah 100 years ago. 100 years between the two of you. Adon Olam, page 321. Kiddush is on page 5.
Do I drink it? Do I drink it?
Not yet. First you say the blessing, and then you drink it down there.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Borei pri hagafen.
Amen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kasha b'hava ratzon, hin lianu, zikaron lematze v'reishit, ki hu yom techila lemikrai kodesh, zeker l'tziyah mitzrayim, ki vanu
Bakata, Yatanu Bidata, Nikol Hamim, Veshabat Kodecha, Ve'ahava Uvratzon, In Kaltanu.
Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh ha-Shabbat.
Amen.
Amen.
Right now. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Amen. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Okay,
Shabbat
Shalom.
Shabbat
Shalom.
shalom.
Please come up and get a piece of challah, and as you're leaving, take your prayer books.
Yeah, a little.